welcome to another one of our Christmas videos. I hope you've all had a very good Christmas because this one should come out. I'm too lazy for it to come out before Christmas. It'll probably come out the week where nobody ever knows quite what time it is. And this is the Norwegian fairy tale of the cat on the Dovrefjell. And this is a fairy tale published in around 1841 by Peter Asbjørnsen. Now, I don't know whether the microphone will actually be able to pick this up, but there is one hell of a windstorm blowing around outside, and because I'm up in the attic, you can probably hear it howling around the roof, but it might not pick that up. Now, this fairy tale starts with the classic Once Upon a Time, and once upon a time there was a man in Finnmark who had caught a great white bear. And he was going to take this bear to the King of Denmark as a present pet offering. It's never really clarified what he was going to do with it. But the bear seems reasonably tame enough to follow along behind him, with him as like a companion. Now it so came about that he came upon the Dovrefjell. If I'm butchering it, I apologise in advance. I'm probably going to butcher it about 20 more times before the end of this video. But he came upon the Dovrefjell about around Christmas Eve time, and that's why this is a Christmas fairy tale. And he needed shelter for the night, so he spied this little cottage in the distance where a guy and his family lived, and he went to the cottage. Remember, there's a bear in tow round here as well. And he goes to the cottage and he asks the man who lived there, a guy named Halvor, if he could stay the night with his friendly bear. But Halvor exclaimed that, as true as his word, he couldn't give them house room at the minute, even if it was Christmas and even if it was desperate. Because every Christmas Eve, a pack of trolls comes down the mountain to the cottage, and the family that live in the cottage have to scarper. They can't be there. And so they don't even have a roof over their own heads, never mind lending it to passing strangers and their bears. But our fearless hunter was not deterred. It's very windy. And he said, well, if that's all, then you can lend me your house and I'll sleep in the side room and my bear can sleep under your stove and keep warm. The trolls won't bother us. And the hunter begged and begged so much and so persistently that finally Halvor gave in and said, you know what? Fine, we're going anyway, good luck to you. And so Halvor and his family flitted the house. And before they went, they got everything ready for the trolls to come down. So they set out the big kitchen table, they put a wonderful feast all over it, and they filled this table with rice porridge, fish in lye, sausages, and all other wonderful little nibbles, everything that you would need for a grand Christmas feast. So when Christmas Eve evening time came about, the trolls descended down the mountain and came to the little cottage, as was their custom every Christmas Eve. Some were great, some were small, some had long tails, some didn't have any tails at all. Some of them had really, really long noses, and some of them didn't have any noses at all. But they came to the cottage, they went in, and they ate and drank, and really stuffed themselves silly like we all do at Christmas. Really, if you're not in a food coma by 8 PM on Christmas Day, it's just, you've done it wrong. Now, when it was coming to near the end of this feast, one of the little trolls actually spied the bear under the stove. Where the guy was, it was probably staying in the little room and hoping the bear would take care of it all. But he finally spied this bear under the stove and decided to play. So this little troll took a piece of sausage, stuck it on the end of a fork, and went up to the bear and jabbed his nose with it, and screamed in its ear, "Pussycat, won't you take some sausage?" Now the great white bear, a little bit annoyed that he'd been woken up so unceremoniously while he was happy lying and sleeping in front of the fire while all this was going on, didn't appreciate having a sausage rammed into his nose and screaming in his ears. So he woke up, rose up on his back legs, and let out a great ferocious roar, and he proceeded to hunt the trolls all over the cabin until they all ran away. It doesn't say if he mauled any of them. This is a children's tale after all, but probably. And now we time jump to the next year, for Christmas Eve came round again. And this Christmas Eve afternoon, Halvor was out in the woods chopping firewood for this great feast that he was going to put on, because he was sure that the trolls were going to come down the mountain again and they were going to have to, flit the cottage again on Christmas Eve so the trolls could have all their feast. However, just as he was hard at work chopping all this wood for the fire that he was going to leave for the trolls, Halvor heard a voice in the woods call out his name. And Halvor replied, "What do you want?" And the little voice answered him and said, "Have you still got your big cat with you at your house?" And without missing a beat, Halvor replied, "Yes, I have. She's at home, lying under the stove as is her wont, just like last year. And what's more, in this past year, she has had 7 kittens, so now there's more of them. And they are far bigger and far fiercer than she ever was." "Oh, then we'll never come to see you again," bawled the little troll voice, far out in the woods. And the little troll and all his other troll friends were true to their word, for since that time the trolls haven't come down the mountain to eat their Christmas feast with Halvor on the Dovrefjell. Now, one thing I'll say about reading this is, while this is all well and good, if you view it from the troll's perspective, then it becomes a whole different, quite a sad tale, from my imagination anyway. Because every Christmas Eve, the magic of Christmas, and they come down the mountain and they come to this cottage where miraculously there is just a feast laid out for them. And the people have gone and kindly left them their cottage so they can have this wonderful feast and have this wonderful Christmas night. And then one Christmas, one of the little troll children goes to stroke the big nice kitty cat that's under the stove and gets clawed for his efforts, and they all have to vacate the house. And then the next year, when they ask politely, "Have you still got the mean cat that was mean to us and chased us out of the house on our wonderful Christmas Eve feast night?" then yes. And they never get to experience that again. So depending on which perspective you go through, it's either a very fun tale from the human perspective, or it's a very sad tale from the troll perspective. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and I wish you a very, very happy Christmas.